springs in a scale has been around for about 200 years now. This one is called a floor scale, and this one is called a hanging scale. So let's spring right into the details here, and we'll start with the hanging scale. These are commonly used at the grocery store. The more weight, or the harder that you pull on the bottom, the more that the red pointer spins on the inside. Take away the weight and the red pointer goes back to 0. Let's take it apart and see what's on the inside. The first thing you'll notice are two large springs on the inside. They are hooked onto the top piece, which is bolted to the frame of the scale. In the center, we have the gear system. This piece is called the rack. Hidden inside of here is called the pinion gear. As the rack goes back and forth, the pinion gear spins too. The rack is bolted to the frame that the springs are on. So when the springs go down, the rack goes down too, which then spins the gear. There's another tiny spring here which pulls on the rack. This ensures that we have good contact with the pinion gear. The center of the gear goes out and pokes through the center of the dial so that we can attach the red pointer. Now as the scale is pulled down, the springs stretch, which moves the rack, turns the gear, turns the red pointer, which then shows how much the object weighs. Now it may happen. Now let's take a look at the floor scale. Two tiny springs hold it all together. It's easiest to unhook it from the bottom. The front cover comes off and the scale has 4 supports on the bottom. Each of these supports rests on one of the 4 bars in the scale. When you stand on the scale, your weight is distributed down through the 4 bars over to the metal plate, which moves down and stretches the spring, allows the lever to rotate, which moves the rack, which then rotates the gear that moves the dial. No matter where you stand on the scale, your weight gets distributed to the tiny spring, which uses Hooke's law to determine your weight. Just like with the hanging scale, this one may need to be zeroed out if it gets off. The calibration dial is down here.